Making sure your knees are gathered in as much as you can. And preferable to have the leg on the floor. Okay, so you're not stacking one leg on top of the other. And that is a version of the same pose, different version of the same posture. Interlocking your fingers nice and loosely at the roots, not pushing the hands forcefully together. And let the hands float up through the shoulders, lengthening from the hips. I'm not going to see the bottom part of my body in this, but you know what I'm doing. We're lengthening up from the hips, from the ground. Always lengthening up from the ground through the breath. And now keeping the kidneys tucked in. So as you come forwards from the pelvis, keep the kidneys tucked forwards, lengthening through the spine. Come down and take the hands onto the floor. And just re-clarify the length again through the spine, through to the crown of the head. And then you're going to walk the hands forwards. Let the head come down towards the floor, okay? Towards resting the forearms down or the hands staying on the floor. And if you're a bit more flexible in the hips and it's not too much of an effort for you to do this, you can release the head down on the hands as well, okay? Stay connected to the breath. So we're just following through on this theme now of simplicity of experience. So take your awareness to the perception of sensation in the body, in the hips, in the spine, in the shoulders, in the back. And just breathe down into the hips as much as you're able to. So you're encouraging the breath down to the area where you most feel the stretch. So at this point, the posture becomes quite passive once we're there, as it were. Passively resting, but keeping the attention on the breath. Walking the hands back in towards you, the head comes up, and as the head comes up, the spine is lengthening. Bringing the hands behind you, resting back onto the hands and raising the heart center up and forward. So you create a smooth arch through the spine from the base, lifting the heart center. Pushing away gently from the floor through the hands to encourage the sense of the heart center moving up to the ceiling. All right, pushing forwards. As you push forwards, change the position of your legs over. If you'd like to swap your legs over, so you have your left leg in front. Again, loosely rooting the fingers, extend the hands forwards, extend the hands upwards. One in breath, one smooth movement. Dropping down through the pelvis, so yielding down from the ground, and from the ground you lengthen through the trunk with the in-breath. So this is kind of this principle of baby growth and movement. You yield and then reach, yield to the ground, reach out. All right, keeping the kidneys tucked in, well tucked in, so that we don't tend to curve the spine forwards. Keep the lumbar spine lengthening. Draw the hands all the way forwards and then down to the ground. Repeat the same movement again. So first of all, just clarify the lengthening through the spine to the crown of the head. And then you can fold, whichever way you want to fold forwards. Once you come into that part of the pose, the next part of the pose, just passively rest in the posture. Bringing the attention back again to the hips and the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. So we're going to keep some energy and effort in the breath, just enough to help to feel that we're connecting through the posture, through the breath. So it's a sense of which the breath is lifting the posture up energetically. Okay. The diaphragm does a lot of that work for us if we just use it a little bit. Walking the hands back towards you, the head comes up and the head lifts the spine. So the spine, as you come up, is already lengthening. Hands drawn back and straight into the next position. Leaning back on the hands, lifting the heart center forwards. Pelvis stays down, but the heart center draws up. So you should feel that you're curving the spine. Base. So the kidneys coming forwards this time. Again. Heart center lifting. Head position where you want to put the head, really wherever it feels most comfortable. Pushing away gently from the floor. So the shoulders are lifting away from the tops of the arms lightly. Okay, pushing yourself forwards. Draw the right arm up, extending up, turning to the right side, rotating. Place the hand down behind you, left hand on the right knee. Dropping the weight down through the pelvis again, and then on the in-breath, lengthening lightly through the spine. So it's a light axial extension through the spinal column. Just easing into a twist, very easy twist. Feeling how that lands in your spine. And then turning to the other way, other side. One smooth movement, raising the left arm, rotating, right hand to the left knee. Nothing complicated, simple movement. Giving your attention more and more to the sensations of the body. Giving the pelvis up to the ground, and then finding out of that gentle lengthening through the spine, axial extension. and rotating back to the center. Take your right hand out in line with your hip to the side, okay? And the left arm is going to extend up and over, keeping the pelvis grounded. And of course, you can walk your hand further out if you want to. Keep the pelvis grounded, okay? Keeping the kidneys drawn in. There's an inevitable gentle twisting in a lateral movement. I think I've mentioned this before. There's no such thing as a pure lateral bend. There's always a rotation of the thoracic vertebra. Okay, so you might get a feel of that, you might not, but that's mechanically that's what's going on in the spine. Reaching through the hand, so the hand grounding the pelvis, reaching to the hand, opens up the side of the body. The all-important lumbus, quadratus lumborum area, lumbar spine. And up and to the other side, directly to the other side. One smooth movement, sliding the hand out a bit further if you wish. Grounding both sides of the hip. So there's a sense of lifting out of the hip as well as arching laterally, okay? And that's the same with all the poses we're doing today. From the standing position, lengthening from the floor, through the hips, into whichever movement we're doing with the upper body. And keeping the neck nice and clear of the upper shoulders as well, shoulder blades down, neck, head position, wherever you want to put the head, really depends upon how it feels. And then up we come back to the center. Okay, we're going to come onto our feet now. I'm going to move back a little bit. If you'd like to bring yourself onto the front of your mat. Hopefully you can still hear me. 1 second. Okay, so my head's missing, but doesn't matter too much. So coming into Tadasana, sort of a sense of floating from the feet. You're grounded, but at the same time there's a sense of floating through the body. So the lightness through the spine, through the hips. Okay, we're not trying to ground ourselves like a 2-ton rock. There's a sense of grounding and rooting, but there's a lightness through the body. And I really want you just to try and explore that through the standing poses. And I'd like to talk about finding spaciousness in the joints as opposed to finding this kind of dense pushing into the joints. Try and find a sense of opening up the joints, okay? Our fingertips lightly extending down to the floor, grounding the feet and exploring the space that you're creating through the spine, even though it might just be very subtle. Thigh muscles are engaging. None of this is a heavy-handed tensing of the muscles, okay? We're just lightly engaging the muscles. So we're bringing attention into these areas of the body to support the pose all the way through the body. And then we're going to rotate the palms of the hands around and up, so the palms are looking up to the sky. On the in-breath, as if breathing in through the base of the feet, extend the hands up, one movement, looking up to the hands. As you exhale, folding forwards. I'll make just a few cues with the breath, although you know it really well anyway. Hands down, stepping your left foot back and coming into the first basic lunge position. I'm just going to spend a little bit more time. Lunge position, okay. So you keep your back knee down, kidneys drawn in, and the heart center lifting, and the neck lengthening, okay. Stepping your front foot back, hands down, 8-point pose through to Bhujangasana, elbows tucking into the side of the body, in-breath lifting up, and as you exhale, tucking the chin in and pushing into downward facing dog. One smooth movement. I'm just giving the backs of the legs a little bit of a time to lengthen here. Afterwards, we won't be spending so much time in any phase. Sun salutations. Grounding heels, keeping the thighs lifted gently. Pubic bone and navel opening away from each other. And keeping the neck long and the ears somewhere between the upper arms, okay? Extending gently through the neck. Okay, shifting your weight forwards, stepping your left foot forwards, right knee down, all the way back into lunge. One smooth movement. Hands beneath the shoulders. The knee can override the ankle a bit, that's fine. Yeah. Back foot tucked under, back knee lifted, smoothly stepping forwards and folding into your legs. One long exhalation. On your next in-breath, smoothly up to standing. And back to Tadasana just for a moment. And then we catch the next in-breath again, palms floating upwards, thighs engaging. Exhale, folding forwards from the hips, keeping the spine nice and long. Taking the right foot back, left foot back, coming into 8-point pose again through the Bodhiyoga-14 again. On the in-breath, on the out-breath, tucking the chin down and in, pressing through the hands back into downward facing dog. Just letting your mind mainly rest around the perception of sensations in the body, okay? Sensations in the body. Now looking forward, step your right foot forwards to the front of the mat. Come back again to lunge. Back toe tucked under, stepping forwards, folding into the legs. And on the next in-breath, we come up again. One sweeping movement back to Tadasana, or the mountain pose. Keeping the hands active, open. Pada Bandha, Hasta Bandha engaged. Okay, next in-breath. Floating up, exhale, folding forwards again. Floating forwards, keeping the breath light and the movement light. Okay, left leg goes back. And the right leg goes back and we come into 8-point pose again. Through to Bhujangasana, keeping the elbows drawn in, shoulder blades down. Exhale, chin tucked in. Press through the hands, come back into the downward facing dog. Okay, shifting the weight forwards, going to step your left foot forwards to the front, back knee down. One smooth movement into lunge, from lunge, stepping forwards and folding into the legs. Seeing if you can lengthen the legs a little bit more. And then keeping the legs long and straight, moving from the hips. Exhale, bringing the hands back into the sides of the body to Tadasana. Okay, bearing your weight down through your left leg, you're going to bring your right heel into the inside of your left leg. Pressing the foot in, finding a point of balance. Attention drawn into the standing leg. Keeping this activity through the spine there, so you're still lengthening through the spinal column. Draw the hands together. elbows parallel, forearms parallel to the floor. Okay, so the focus is on balancing, and then when you feel you've got sufficient balance, extending up. Grounding, balancing, awareness of sensations in the body and the breath. Shoulder blades drawing back and down. So we're broadening a little bit through the front of the chest. And keeping the spine long. Be aware of not collapsing in the lumbar, so get the tailbone tucked under slightly. Thigh engaged. Bringing the hands back to the front of the heart center, namaste. And down. Okay, changing the balance to the other side. Bringing the foot into the inner thigh. Hands back to the heart center. Extending to the sky. So there's that sense of yielding and the sense of reaching, yielding down through the ground, to the ground, and reaching out of that. Keeping the front of the pelvis nice and open, so the left knee draws back gently, even as you press the foot into the thigh. And the shoulder blades also drawing down and back slightly. Okay, palms of the hands coming back together at the heart center. Then namaste, forearms parallel. And releasing the foot down. Yeah. Okay, back to Tadasana. From Tadasana, on the next in-breath, sweeping the arms up again. We'll go through one more cycle of sun salutation. We'll use this as a vinyasa between the standing poses. Exhale, folding forwards, hands down, walking the feet back, both the feet. So we will change this a bit to downward facing dog. You're going to bring your your left heel in, step your right foot forwards, bending your front knee, sweeping the hands out wide and above the head. Okay, so you've got the right foot forwards. Moving into the warrior. Exhale, folding forwards again. Take the hands down. Step your front foot back. And do the same thing on the other side. So right heel in, left foot forwards. Keep the spine long, sweep the arms out and above. Exhale, folding forwards, hands down. And step your back foot forwards. Okay, folding into the legs. Probably on an in-breath, out-breath. In-breath, back to standing. And the hands coming down to the side again, Tadasana. Okay, bring the hands onto the hips. I'd like you to bend your knees a little bit, keeping your knees pressed together. Okay, so the front pelvis is lifting up and in towards the lower belly rather than letting the pelvis drop back. Okay, so front superior crest drawing up, keeping your spine long. Going to fold your right leg over your left leg. Whether or not you can take the foot behind the calf is really neither here nor there. Okay, but if you can do that, good. But if not, do not worry. Keep the pelvis oriented forwards to the short edge of the mat. Okay, hands on the hips. All right, straightening the legs up a little bit, keep them folded. Now taking your left arm, if you can, over your right upper arm into Tadasana. Okay. Lifting the elbows and seeing if you can broaden the base of the shoulder blades. So the points at the bottom of the shoulder blades opening away from the spine, gently. All right, let's release this. Quite intense with the leg, isn't it? Exhale. Unfolding the legs, straighten the legs. Come back to Tadasana for a moment. Next in breath, we're going to float the hands up again, palms of the hands to the sky. Exhaling, folding forwards, like you're taking flight off the top of a building, flying down, hands on the floor. Walk your feet back, coming into downward facing dog again. You're going to bring the left heel in, step the right foot forwards once again. Okay, so the body weight goes down through the leg, especially the back leg. Okay, inhale, we draw up, keeping the front knee bent. Exhale, folding forwards, take the hands down. Stepping the front foot back again. Turning your right heel, step your left foot forwards, same thing again. Floating up on the in-breath. Into warrior. Exhale, hands down and step your back foot forwards, folding into your legs. And on the next in-breath, we come back up to standing again. Into Tadasana, hands on the hips again. Okay, bending the knees. So we start off bending the knees a bit more deeply. Front pelvis elevating, lifting. Keeping the hands on the hips initially. Spine long, spine growing out of the pelvis, chest opening. You're going to bring your left leg over the right leg. Or the opposite way around if you did it the other way. Yep. Good. And then just straightening the legs a little bit. So they're going to stay bent, but straighten the legs a little bit. So you rise up a little bit. And crossing the right arm over the left arm. To the Tadasana position. Drawing the elbows gently upwards. Broadening the base of the shoulder blades. Keeping the neck long. So you can maintain that for 4 more breaths. Steady, good, good. Okay, release the arms down, bring the feet together. Straighten the legs, come back to Tadasana. Okay, next in breath again, float the hands above. The gaze follows the hands up, gaze follows down towards the floor, release. Walk the feet back into, so you come into the downward facing dog pose again. Turning the left heel in, step your right foot forwards. One smooth movement coming up, hands above the shoulders. We're just using this as a vinyasa, we're not staying in the pose. Hands down, stepping your front foot back. And then the other side, right heel in, opposite foot forwards. One smooth movement coming up. Exhaling, taking the hands down and stepping the back foot forwards, folding into the legs. So I'd like you to open your feet a little bit wider than your pelvis here. Just re-clarify the length in your spine. So think about the crown of the head leading the length of the spine. And then you're going to fold into the legs. And it's really up to you whether you maintain the legs slightly bent or begin to work on lifting the pelvis and straightening the legs more. Look for a sense of closing the space between the belly and the thighs and folding into the legs, okay? Obviously, if that puts strain on the lumbar, you know what to do, so release your knees, okay? Broaden the feet, hasta and palabandha engaged, hands on the floor, release the head down. Taking 8 breaths. Okay, reaching forwards with the crown of the head again to lengthen the spine. If you bring your feet together, bending the knees, bringing the head up, trunk comes above the thighs, above the hips, and we come into the cactus, inverted cactus position. So we're practicing Tadasana, a modified version of Tadasana. So the front of the pelvis is lifting in and up. It's the same action as when we're doing Tadasana. Thighs pressing in towards each other gently. And exhale, folding into the legs again. Okay, you're going to walk the feet back so we come into the downward facing dog once again. Okay, bringing the left heel in and stepping the right foot forward. So a long space between the legs. And we've got the pelvis turning out towards the long edge of the mat. We're going to come up. And we've got our base for Trikonasana. So adjust your stance as wide as you can without losing integrity in the pose. If it's too wide, it won't work. But as wide as you can take it. Okay. Turning your trunk towards the long edge of the mat. Raise the arms to the height of the shoulders. Okay, you got left hand turning upwards to the sky, right hand turning down towards the floor. Okay, engaging the thighs by pressing the feet to the floor. Extend out over towards the right side and take the hand down onto your shin. Or if you're a bit more practiced, you might want to take your fingertips down by the heel or the palm of the hand even, depends upon your proportions. Keep both the legs active and engaged, spine lengthening. Now out of that comes the arm extending above the shoulder. Okay. Head position is up to you, looking down, looking out to the side, looking up. Then bring some refinement into your posture. So bring the awareness, especially into the periphery of the body. So keeping the feet and the hands active throughout the pose. Can you refine your pose in some way? So look for this sense of creating space in the joints, lightness through the pose. So you're yielding down to the ground and you're reaching out, but not reaching out with brute force. Okay, so look for a sense of making the practice a bit more subtle, a bit more refined. Might just mean working a bit more on sustaining the breath. Okay, looking to the floor, the upper hand comes down. As the upper hand comes down, turn your back heel around and down. Place your hands down either side of the foot. And then you're going to step your front foot back and come into the downward facing dog pose. Okay, then bring your right heel in and step your left foot forwards, taking a wide stance. All right, and then really ground the feet firmly so that as you turn round and come into the setup position for Bodhiyoga-14, you're not going to put unnecessary strain in the back. So use the legs to draw you up. Right palm facing up, left palm facing down. Inhale, exhale, extend out to the left side. Hand down. Okay, so grounding the feet and then reaching up through the legs, through the spine, lengthening. Tailbone tucked in gently, kidneys broadening. And then looking to the floor, take your upper hand all the way down by bending your front knee, lift your back heel off the floor. And then once you've got the hands down, step the front foot back. Okay, we're going to shift the knees down onto the floor from here and take a pause in child pose for a moment. Any version of child pose you want to come into, free to do that. The 10 breaths, we abandon the effort. So we abandon the effort, the physical effort, but stay aware of the breath, stay aware of the sensations in the body. Good. So just breathing it in, whatever your experience is, breathing it in, breathing it out. So you're embracing. Okay, if you like to slide your hands forwards now, so they just slide out in line with your shoulders, broadening the hands again. Tuck your toes under again. So it's like the pose opens up from child pose to downward facing dog like a flower. So you broaden the hands, you lengthen out of the folded position into a lengthened position. Heels drawing down and the thighs drawing up. And then from here, once we're in the downward facing dog pose, we're going to step the right foot forwards again. Maintain a long stance, so a long base, okay? Long base into high lunge. And then you're going to place the left hand down beneath the left shoulder, more or less beneath the left shoulder on the ground. Okay, so your long base, pelvis stays level for the moment. Yeah, so just re-clarifying this sense of lengthening through the spine again. So the crown of the head reaching away from the neck, neck lengthening from the thoracic. Grounding the hand, I'm going to let the left hip drop down a little bit as we rotate. So it's fine to let the hip swivel. Okay, you can place the right hand on the pelvis, on the sacrum, or you can place the hand on the thigh. Okay, and then you're going to turn the trunk towards the right side. If you're really a bit more adventurous, you can extend the hand up and gaze up, but it's quite demanding to take the full expression of the pose like that. Yeah. Okay, so keep your awareness in the legs the whole time. The legs are the base of the pose. And the spine moves out from that sense of the yielding down to the ground. Bring the hand down to the floor. Even up the space between your hands again. Step back again to the downward facing dog, just as a transition. And then bring your other foot forwards. Okay, making sure the pelvis initially is level. Right hand grounded beneath the right shoulder. And then the right hip can drop down as you start to rotate the trunk. So keep the emphasis on lengthening through the spine as you rotate, because we always want to be bringing in this aspect of axial extension through the spine. Yeah. Okay. Left shoulder folds over, opening the heart center towards the left side. So it's better to think about that, opening the heart rather than trying to think of twisting the whole spine. The lumbar really is not going to do very much at all here, not if we want it to. Okay, so the heart center broadening, opening. Hands down. Hands down. Stepping the front foot back again. Once again. Into the pose, downward facing dog pose. All right, and from here, you're going to step your right foot forwards again. And then we're going to turn our trunk and pelvis to face the long edge of the mat in set up for a wide foot forward bend. Pasarita Tadasana. Okay. Hence me facing away from the camera. So I'm looking to the side. Float the arms up, palms of the hands facing upwards. And then bring the hands down onto the hips. Rooting down through the feet, so the feet are yielding through the legs. Then you're reaching up again through the legs, through the trunk. Okay. On your next out in breath, open the heart center and look up a bit. And on your out breath, you're going to fold forwards, keeping the kidneys in, moving from the pelvis. So almost all of the first part of this activity comes from the pelvis itself, rolling over the top of the legs. Okay, keeping the spine long, and then we're going to bring the hands down on the floor at a width of the shoulders, elbows in, walking the hands back a bit more if you can. So just come into the pose over a few breaths to a point at which you can sort of maximize the work through the legs. So keep the legs extending to the pelvis, broadening through the buttocks. Okay, so we're opening up the perennial floor here, not contracting it. Grounding the feet, and then see if you can then release the crown of the head towards the floor, whichever position you come into. So if you've got the legs active in the way that we're talking about here, you should be able to find that you can, the pose is quite restful for the upper body. No? Once you're into the pose, you can then sort of let go of the upper body, but keep the legs active. So you're working with those two seemingly polar opposite energies there. You're resting the upper body, but you're keeping the legs active. Maintain an awareness of the breath. So the internal aspect of the breath through the diaphragm. Okay, lifting the head and walking your hands forwards so that you lengthen the spine again. So we're always coming back to this lengthening the spine principle. Okay. Right hand grounded on the floor beneath the heart center. You can really extend the left arm out to the side at the height of the shoulder and rotate. So again, the right hip can fold under the left hip. And we're just going to hold the position on each side. We're not going to rotate from side to side. More of a static pose, okay? So the legs again, actively drawing to the floor. Lengthening the spinal column, reaching out. Looking to the floor if you wish, looking out to the side, looking up. What seems to work best? Okay, just watching the awareness doesn't slip out of the legs. So the legs here are key to the pose, yeah. Okay, one smooth transition to the other side. Left hand down, right hand extends through and up. Left hip tucking under the right hip. And just assure yourself that you're not compensating with your shoulder here, okay? We're not trying to force the arm into a vertical position. Just let the spine do the rotation. And the arm position reflects where your spine is, okay? So it's not a question of getting the rotation and then pushing the shoulder back. Rather, just let the arm extend out, reflecting where the spine is at. Very good. Okay, take your hands down, and then I'd like you to return to the first position that we practiced, okay? The more classical position. So bringing your hands down and walking your hands back, and then feeding the crown of the head down. Just pausing there, so the legs are active again, but the upper body is resting. Okay, now extend your body forwards, walking the hands forwards. Bring your hands onto the hips and bend your knees slightly to come back up to standing position. Just pause in the standing position for a moment. I'm going to step the feet closer together and then to the front of the mat. The front of the mat will come down to the floor, okay? Down to the floor now. I don't know if you have a block, or if you need a block. If you have a block, I'd like you to use it, but if not, you can just sit back onto the heels, okay? Onto Virasana. So I'll block if you have one, but if you haven't, then it's fine just to sit back on the heels. It's up to you. I prefer myself to use a block when I'm doing this. Okay, we're going to bring the left arm around and behind us, feeding the fingers between the shoulder blades. Right arm extends up, feeding back. So as we come into the pose where we try to connect the hands, Try not to move or shift the upper body around to do that. Okay, so just keep the upper spine long. If your hands don't reach, don't manage to touch, don't manage to touch. That's okay, without a belt. Engaging the sense of the elbows drawing apart, keeping the spine long. Pelvis grounding, feet pressing gently to the floor. And breathe through the pose, so let the breath sustain the posture. Again, come back to that. If you've lost touch with the diaphragmatic breathing, see if you can re-engage that again at this stage. And we center our attention more into the breath, so we make the breath a bit clearer in our awareness over the next few postures. So allowing the attention of the breath to unclutter our mind. Yeah. Okay, separate the hands, one smooth movement, change into the other side. Yeah. Okay, separating the hands, extending them out to the side for a moment, just releasing the shoulders. Okay. And then bringing the palms behind into reverse namaste. So you've got the medial line of the hand coming together more than the lateral. So the little finger side of the hand usually comes together more than the thumb side of the hand. In most cases, unless you've got super flexible shoulders and wrists. And just picking the shoulders up and rolling them back, that should give you a little bit more access to bringing the hands together. Okay. Heart center lifting gently. Okay, releasing the hands. Like you, one last time come into the downward facing dog pose. And then one last time, come into the child pose. And then into meditation posture. Good idea if you make a point of doing some shavasana yourselves after the session. Imagine you do that, but make a point of doing a bit of practice of letting go at the end of all of this. That would be good. So yeah, with this bit of meditation practice we're doing, I know that some of you like to sit on and carry on practicing. Okay, so and we're starting a bit late. It's almost 10 past. So well, we'll go on till for 15 minutes. Okay, if you need to leave before, you leave before. But if you want to carry on sitting, then just please carry on sitting, and I'll just sign out. Okay. Hopefully that practice has cleared the space a little bit internally. Let's put us into our more embodied state. There's a chance here with this meditation session just to allow ourselves to feel and experience in a very open way what's going on. How our experience emerges, how it passes. And just seeing if we can let go of the sense that, to the extent that we can do, which is not an easy thing to do, is just let go of this sense of there is something definite to do here and I've got to do it in the meditation practice. Just awareness of what's going on is enough, is sufficient. If we need to, we use the breath to just give us sufficient focus so that we're not getting carried away by discursive thoughts. But if not, then we can just rest our awareness in the body. And probably for most of us, we need a bit more training in letting go, if anything. Letting go of the extraneous efforts that we make. Coming into meditation is quite a different affair from even from yoga practice. Yoga practice is a bit more refined than daily activities, perhaps. The meditation is even more refined, it's even more subtle. So it requires this balance between attention and interest and letting go.